A new week has begun, and welcome to the Sportsline podcast here on CHCH. I'm Bubba O'Neill. If you're a regular, or maybe now you're a newbie, we love to focus on the many outstanding athletes, coaches, and executives that hail from or reside in Southern Ontario. Now, with that said, once a week, generally on Mondays, we like to put our guests to the test with the Sportsline Square-Off. This graduate of the College of Sports Media has transitioned to the challenging, fast-paced world of news. Jason Gaidola made his way to Hamilton through other markets that include Thunder Bay and Winnipeg, and as a reporter and an anchor, he's now covering all the top stories here at CHCH. But with that said, I know it, I feel it. Jason is a lover of sports at heart, so that's why he's on today's Sportsline podcast. Jason, always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Always love being here. Always love chatting up with you because I think we always get to the heart of many hot topics in sports, and CFL being one of them. And I know you're mentioning about me being out in the Winnipeg, the prairies, and I know the passion of the CFL. And I always appreciate talking about that league with you because I think it's really the heart of Canadian sports, and I'm happy that the season kicked off.
Well, and it's funny because you're right. We could take these cameras and put it in my area of the CHCH newsroom, and we'd have a square-off almost every single night.
Every day. Every day.
It's so good. I love it. Actually, when things happen, I'm like, where is he? Where is he? I want to talk to him, right?
I usually have something to say about something, especially about the CFL. Right. But I think the league has gone off such a great start, and I love football. I love all types of football. So I'm
big
happy.
Steelers fan too.
Big Steelers fan. For all the right and wrong reasons, but yeah, I'm excited about them as well. But excited about the Ticats and see what they can do as well.
Let me throw this bone to you here. I mean, I'm excited about your career. I mean, it really seems to be blossoming. How are you enjoying the added responsibility of being one of the anchors at this station?
I do enjoy it. It's almost like it's been a while because I did some anchoring in Thunder Bay, and trying to get back to that routine. And some things are different. Obviously, there's always some things that are different about one place to another. But it's good because it's nice to be in the driver's seat sometimes of things, and being an anchor is essentially kind of like being in the driver's seat of news. So I guess I'm just trying to get that old feeling back again where I was doing it in the past, and with time, been here for a couple of years. I think it was just a matter of time, and now it's just I think I've got to find make sure that my footing is there, and really try to make my mark.
Well, you're making your mark not also with your talent, but you got the anchor look, dude.
Thanks.
Like you got that anchor look, the mature hair, the look, the jawline. Your girlfriend must love it. Like you're looking good at the desk. I'll tell you that.
She chirps me at times, but
really?
Nah. Really? But at all jokes, I don't know. Maybe it's the gray because these babies have multiplied ever since I got in this business. Yeah. So I don't know if it's helping me. It's I guess maybe it is. I don't know.
Well, I will give you credit because at least it's even on your side. When this started first coming in with me, it only came in on one side, and I started to panic. What am I going to do? I just kept shaving it back for almost a year, and then all of a sudden, both sides came gray, and I'm like, yes.
I don't know how that happens. I mean, I guess you could say one side is more gray than the other. Right? I don't know, but give yourself a couple of years in this business, and
You're right.
They're sprouting, man.
Well, I've talked to many ladies, and apparently they like the salt and pepper, so keep it up, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You ready to do a little square off?
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about, you're talking about the CFL. Let's talk about the Riders and beating the Tiger Cats in comeback style, 33-30. I'll ask you the question straight up. They scored 10 points in about the last 2 minutes of the game. Was it a well-earned comeback or, I hate to say the word, but a choke by the Tiger Cats?
You can definitely make the argument for both sides. Credit to the Riders because both teams, they got into a really scrappy game. There's a lot of penalties. But if we're just going to kind of keep it to the Ticats side, there was a lot of blown chances. And as much as I thought their pass rush did such a good job yesterday, their secondary really gave up some big plays. And I don't know if it's just the fact that there was just some some of the plays weren't called. There wasn't some good play calling, or maybe the team is still learning on how to win. And those questions are still up in the air right now. And it's only 2 games in. And again, I know 0-2 may mean something in the NFL, but not as urgent in the CFL at this point of time. But there's a lot of good things that you can take away from that game. But will this team find a way to really give that victory that can give the fan base the thought of saying, can we win a title this year? Is that in the cards? For the most part, I still think there's a lot of good things compared to years past, and I know you've pointed that out. But there is that different feel, and that there's a more clean look to this team and how they're operating and how they're moving.
Well, to your point, I think we can go to this board and have a look at something which I think kind of proves it. Now, unfortunately, there's a trend that has gone on for a couple of years here with this team not winning games to start the season, but for whatever reason, I think that I know you always want to be in the positive, but a minus 11-point differential with that 0-2 record compared to what we've seen in 23, 22, and 21 does prove to your point.
Absolutely. And will they be able to carry, like sometimes teams can be very productive and it doesn't carry over to wins. And this is where the separation comes, because I've seen a lot of pro teams have great statistical years, but when it came down to the final moments where it mattered the most, sometimes they never got it. They just won't get it done. Mm-hmm. And are the Ticats going to be that team this year? I think it's too early to go that far, but learning how to win close games, I think, is going to be the first expectation, I would assume, from Ticat fans to if there's any hope of, if you know that they're going to vie for a title this year. Still a little early, but I just think there's a lot of good signs. I mean, if you want to talk about defensively, I was really impressed with their defensive line, because I always think, I'm like, if you can get pressure on the quarterback, you can make up for a lot of deficiencies there.
They had 4 sacks, and here's an issue here, and I know you're a lover of football, and I think we've seen this in sports. I think this is not just a football thing, where sometimes outstanding football players go through stuff. And I'm not even talking about in their personal life. They're just, something happens where there's a loss of, I don't know whether it's a mentality thing. We could take a look at exactly what we're talking about here in this receiver, in Tim White, a multiple All-Star, and he's off to a tough start this season.
Super tough start, and I'm assuming Bo's going to be looking to him all season. I know Dunbar had a nice game yesterday, but Tim White's got to be the guy. And I mean, I don't know why. I'm sure, like you were saying, in practice he's catching all of those, no problem. But when it comes to the game, I'm assuming all it takes is just a slight misfocus, and you drop the ball, and you're probably going to drop a ball in the most crucial times, and you can't really do it, because there was, if he caught those balls, I mean, it would have been a different game yesterday.
They win the game.
They win the game.
They win both games.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know. Is Tim White going to be? Is Bo going to keep looking towards to him throughout the season? He's going to have to. He's got to at this point. So let's see. I'm curious to see how that relationship will continue to build throughout the season. If you want to take off the heat, I thought they could have brought in. They could have involved James Butler a little more today, and I know maybe that could have been circumstantial. Mm-hmm. But I really think Butler is probably going to be the driving force, maybe the rocket fuel to that offense throughout this season, as well as Bo is looking. I'd love to see them really go run first in a lot of scenarios. Find as many different packages as you can with him. Because you want, I think if you know that the defense may struggle throughout the year, if they become a very mediocre defense throughout the entire season, learn how to control the ball and learn how to keep the defense off the field as much as possible, give them as much rest, and become pound the rock. I would say pound the rock.
You're completely right there. With about 3 minutes left, there was an opportunity for the Tiger Cats to basically close out the football game, even though as close as it was right there, by running the football, taking time off the clock, putting Saskatchewan probably in a real tough situation with the ball being maybe inside their 10-yard line, or maybe even going to kick a field goal to really shut them out. But that just did not happen. Good thing for the Tiger Cats, they get a second look at Saskatchewan next Sunday. day. These two teams, and what an entertaining game it was this past weekend. Let's hope for the same, but the Tiger Cats win next weekend.
Sorry, Bob. I just want to get on one point. Why? Yeah. Like they're heading to Regina at their next game. Is it me, or do they always end up losing in Regina and like places like Calgary? Like, they got to go out and win there.
It's tough.
If they can go out and win there,
they had a big win. They had a big win last year there with Bo Levi Mitchell throwing the football.
And I hope they do it again. And also too, I just wanted to point out that it was nice to see the '99 Grey Cup team.
Good point.
I thought, I'm like, oh, they can't lose tonight when these guys are coming out. This is the last winning team, and I thought it was great to see all those players come out and. Maybe I know we've seen some spurts of players make their appearances at Tim Hortons Field, but I thought, as you know, whoever made it out yesterday, it was nice to see that them being honored. I'm
glad you said whoever made it out, because I saw all those guys by the end of the game. Let's just say they're having a good time, and so they should. I will say this though, Mike Morielli told me in the broadcast, says we as much as we love this attention, as much as we love being the '99 Grey Cup champions, it's about time that we stop being the last team to win the Grey Cup. So there's a little inspiration for the guys that are part of the 2024 Tiger Cats. Golf now. We talk about things and that just didn't go their way. Well, Rory McIlroy is certainly thinking that right now. Bryson DeChambeau wins the U.S. Open. But according to Golf Channel analyst Brandel Chambly, well, his win was courtesy of good fortune. Agree or disagree?
Now, again, Chambly's comments, I mean, some people are starting to take the PGA versus LIV thing, and there might be some animosity.
I knew that's what I agree.
You know what, though? I got to be honest with you. Because I was outside, and I was actually watching the game outside, I was watching the golf tournament, the final round outside, plus the Ticats game. I wasn't really hearing the commentary, so I guess none of that was really in my mind until I read about it afterwards. But sure, you can argue that there's a lot of players probably won tournaments because they had great lies and where the ball fell. But I mean, on that 18 hitting where he hit that recovery shot off that crap that was in there, the logs. The log was actually I believe it was a root. It was a tree root. It stuck on the ground. The recovery was unbelievable. And here I am thinking, I'm like, man, this is going into a sudden death. But and then the bunker shot was probably going to be a shot to remember too as well. I don't know. He had moments where he was going to choke. And he just got the job done because somebody else choked. And I think that's the beauty of golf, is just that it's not necessarily you versus somebody else. It's you versus the course and how it's laid out. And listen, credit to DeChambeau. I thought he played a pretty stellar tournament. I even took my side interest on a Friday.
Oh,
when I recognized it, I was just
Friday, you saw you could force it past that far.
I thought, I just looked at what was at the leaderboard. I'm thinking I like DeChambeau to ride this out, but on the final day, I was like, oh boy, I don't know. I'm like, Rory's looking good, and then Rory missed some pretty big putts that were. Probably you can argue that was sinkable. It's for professional standards. But it was a hell of a tournament at the end, and I thought it was a great finish. Both players, had their faults where they could have easily lost the tournament. But, in the end, what do you say to DeChambeau? The recovery shot, the approach shot that put him back in the bunker and then recovering off of that. That's just, I don't know. That's great stuff to me. So, he deserves to win.
I think he totally deserves to win. And I think he deserves to be going to the Olympics as well, too, for the U.S. team. I can't believe that he will not be on that team. Look at his performance in the Masters. Look at his performance. One shot off the lead behind Scottie Scheffler at the PGA Championship. And he wins. This guy's been involved and maybe could have won 2, maybe even 3 major championships. But I'm telling you, this point system nonsense, I don't disagree with it. And he's one of the better golfers on the LIV Tour, and he's getting punished because he went to the LIV Tour. So, you're telling me he's not one of the state's best opportunities at winning a gold medal in the Olympics? Come on, stop fooling yourself.
Yeah, and great point. I don't know much about in terms of the political landscape, and when I use the term politics, just the inner workings of a sport and who likes who and who doesn't like who and all that stuff. And it's hard to not think about that stuff when when you know that there's been the demarcation line has been set for both golf leagues, and how the dichotomy of golf is just completely different right now, and the PGA has just been in such a dominant spot, and now they're really trying to fight back their dominance pretty much. And is it spilling over? It's hard not to think about that. I don't know how, I'm not quite sure how the selection committee goes. I mean, you say it's the point system, I guess. They're going through points. Yeah, I don't know. Is it time to rethink? It's time probably to rethink a lot of things around how you approach on building national teams or whatever you're going to do to bring in a collective of great players. But DeChambeau is, if Scottie Scheffler was not playing as well as he was, you would say I think DeChambeau
deserves to be there. But I think he's
the best golfer in the world.
I think Scottie Scheffler certainly deserves to be there. But I think Bryson DeChambeau should be right there with him. And I mean, maybe Morikawa as well too. But I think that DeChambeau's play has proven, especially when he's been on the LIV Tour and then when he's joined the big boys on the major championships, he's done his job. But that's disappointing. That's just the way it is, though. Hockey now. Stanley Cup. On Saturday night, the Oilers, who saw this coming? They destroyed the Panthers 8-1. How they cut into that 3-love series deficit to 3-1. Jason, do you believe in miracles?
I would love to. And I don't know, actually. You know what? I think Game 5, and I always think a Game 5 is always a pivotal game in any series. It always seems to kind of set the stage on where the series might turn, momentum switches and all that. They go to Game 5 if the Oilers can win, and I think it's all about solving that Bobrovsky puzzle, which they clearly bombarded him last game. You never know, actually, because I do believe that if the Panthers do have to go all the way back to Edmonton for a Game 6, it's possible. It's really, really possible at this point. I will still roll with Panthers in 7. I guess it depends on how the next game will look. Like if the Oilers can really blow them out of the water again, boy, I think that's going to be a confidence shatter for the Panthers, and they might be scrambling because, I think it's more likely nowadays that you could see some comebacks. And I think the Oilers do have the firepower. Can they protect Skinner? Can they collectively, as a defensive unit, protect him and keep as many pucks off him as well? Try to really close down those Panther forwards. It's going to be. I think it's going to be an interesting Game 5. But if the Oilers can really have a nice, convincing win, my tune may change.
Well, I'm with you. I think I guess Tuesday's game in Florida will be just massive. But if the Oilers have done this a couple of times, and I know it's the regular season where they have ripped off. They've had multiple long win streaks, especially after losing streaks. They tend to do these kind of things, and you've planted a bit of a seed of doubt into Florida, and some could say, well, Florida, they were at home. It's a Saturday night. It's Edmonton. Maybe they're not 100% into it. Wait till they get back in front of their home crowd. That may work out to be true. But I'll tell you, there was a life about Edmonton, and you know what? I think Connor McDavid said, we got nothing to lose. And they played that way, and the Panthers were caught off guard, and they were getting scoring from all kinds of different sources, including great to see Darnell Nurse finally score his first Stanley Cup goal. He's been a target of the media recently. So when you're playing free and easy, sometimes we see that in sports. Things can happen. Yeah,
it's going back to that. I always hear hockey guys tell me, it's about playing loose and not, and don't be so tight on your grip on the stick. Those little things, and they look like a wheeling and dealing team in Game 4, and I think this is where the Oilers can have the shift. And also too, has Connor McDavid really stolen a game yet? We always expect
he hasn't.
Can he steal one game in each series? That's been kind of the expectation a little bit. Also too, I just couldn't see the Oilers losing at home, having a team raise the cup in their building, and maybe I think that desperation paid off. You could see, as much as they looked loose, I just could not see them losing, getting swept at home, having the Panthers lift the cup there. But I was also not expecting a win like this, but this could change things because they have to rely on their offense. And like I said, Connor McDavid is probably still waiting, biding his time to have his stealing game type of performance, a memorable Stanley Cup performance. He may be due, and that could be Game 5. That could be Game 5.
Could be, and as we just see there, Connor McDavid, according to Greg Cody, a sports columnist with the Miami Herald, Oilers forward Connor McDavid should be known as Connor McOverrated. Your thoughts?
That's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. I don't know. Maybe that's just, to me, that stinks of like American columnist who probably doesn't know much about hockey.
No.
Trying to make a name of himself, or maybe he just started watching hockey.
Hold on.
I can't go overrated.
To his credit, though, he says that players that have won, like McDavid has won, I think, 3 Hart trophies, best player in the game. That's the sort of mentality that we, as hockey fans, on both sides of the border, say that Connor McDavid is the greatest player of his era right at this point, though. But his point was great players in all sports, regardless of the situations, lead their teams to championships. They've knocked on the door. This is his year number 9, and he has yet to win anything in terms of a team. And I think that's where the McOverrated comes from.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, like, again, I guess it depends where people want to place him in the all-time pantheon of greats, right? I'm guessing everyone is in that because of his numbers and his ability is showing that this guy he's with Gretzky and Lemieux and Orr and all these guys, and his talent is a lot. It definitely gives some validity to that. Being in that room, I do believe I do agree with the point that a championship is important. At least one. You got to get one, and if you get one, and you can probably take Alexander Ovechkin type, that him just getting that one cup could really seal the deal, and being okay to put him with the other great players. Listen, I think it also comes down to how the Oilers have built their team. I mean, they've tried. They went through a rebuild. They've kind of hit some bumps, and they kind of stalled, I guess, in their development. They haven't had a complete team. I think this is probably the more better, deeper teams that they've had. That kind of plays a role too. So I in terms of, I can't recall one player just absolutely carrying a team to the Stanley Cup. If it has happened, it doesn't happen very often. So building a hockey team takes a lot of work. But I would never go over to the point of calling him, overrated. It just seems a little excessive and a little clickbaity in my opinion.
Hoops now.
Yeah.
Mavericks win Game 4 of the NBA Finals, 122-84. Like, this was a 35-point game in the second quarter. Game 5 tonight in Beantown. The Celtics with an opportunity to win in front of the home crowd. What do you see happening?
I think the Celtics close this. So I kind of, to my point with the Oilers, I just couldn't see the Mavericks allowing the Celtics to just sweep them on their floor. And, the shots obviously were falling. I thought there was a sense of desperation by the Mavericks. And they, I guess, I don't know. They kind of stomped on, but this is just figurative speech, but they kind of stomped on the Celtics when they were just they took their foot off the gas a little bit.
Right.
But winning in the Garden is super hard.
Right.
Boston's record at home is just really, really good. And again, it's the way they spread the ball. They have a lot of options. If White's cooking for them, and maybe it also depends if whether Porzingis plays or not. This is going to be a tough team to beat. I think the Mavericks are going to have to be, at least they're on their best defensively. They can't allow Boston to get deep into the hundreds. From a scoring perspective. So if they can keep a low-scoring game, you never know. Dallas could potentially steal this game, but it has to. They have to have a great defensive performance, especially with Luka. I mean, he's playing with like one leg. He hasn't again to rely on him.
He's got to stop crying too, though.
He has to. Oh well, for sure. I think he's got to find a way to lead his team better, and I'm sure maybe if the teammates are leaning on Kyrie Irving, somebody with championship pedigree, the leaders are going to have to lead their complementary players properly into this one, and it's probably going to come down to they're going to batten down the hatches and really, really defend as well as possible. And I'm sorry, but even if Luka is on one leg, you're still out there. You got to find a way to reduce the scoring and force Boston on the outside. Force them on to take those deep shots. And if they're missing, you can probably eke away a win. But you got to limit the scoring there. You got to limit the options of all their players that can hit the three, pretty much.
Well, and they're one of the best, if not the best, three-point shooting team in the Boston Celtics. But you're right, you've got to force them into that too. And hey, how many times have we heard this in the league? The NBA is a make or miss league, and sometimes you're just missing, right? It just happens in the NBA a lot of times. So if you can get into their heads and get into their grills, as they say, and just play some hard defense. I mean, the same defense that won them series against the Timberwolves, they just destroyed them. They humiliated them and did a better job against, I think, OKC in shutting them down and making things difficult for them. We haven't seen it, I think, in this entire series where they can really lock it down on defense. And I'm standing right with you. If they can keep that team to under 100 points, you never really know. You never really know.
If Boston closes out tonight, who do you give MVP to? I mean, Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown to me. I think he's been such a difference maker. Tatum has been there, but not always. Just Brown's doing it defensively, offensively. It kind of feels like, I don't know if it's his team, but I feel like it's his time, and that's I really feel he's been a real big difference maker.
I've never been. I don't get too. I know a lot of people like to preoccupy saying whose team is this, who's that, but I don't know. I think it works. Whatever they're doing in Boston works. But Jaylen Brown, I took to his credit. Interesting story. I didn't even know he turned down an internship to NASA. Dude is he's not only has he has great ability, he's super smart on the floor, and I think it's a lot of times it shows.
What's another thing I didn't know is that Jason Tatum and Matthew Tkachuk were such buddies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
no.
that they went to high school together, and there's some video of them talking about when they play their respective sports that they're going to win championships. I'll show it to you when you're after. They're literally 10 years old, 10, 12 years old on a school bus hanging out. Oh. Yeah, it's amazing to see these guys. They're so young, and they're talking about, we're going to be great in our sports, and we're going to win championships, and I'm going to hang out with you. And
that's a hell of a story.
Yeah, it's crazy. You go to the same high school. Very quiet story. Let's stay on the wood. And this has just been a theme that has just gone on all season long. I think for the early part, I thought it was great for the WNBA. I don't know anymore if it is, and you tell me what you think. In this week's game, I guess on Sunday, we had Angela Reese and Caitlin Clark. They've been banging heads together since their college days. Technical foul called after a review on Caitlin Clark from Angela Reese. You can have a look at this foul, and you tell me if this is a technical foul or not. It's hard. It's a hard foul, no doubt. Yeah. I mean, Clark takes it pretty hard, and you'll see in the coconut pretty hard. Again, talking to Reese after the game, she said she didn't deserve a technical foul. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's that's a close one. Clearly it's a foul. In general, but it's in terms of a flagrant. I guess the only way I can position is, how would the NBA handle it? That's my only. I guess my initial train of thought. Probably in the NBA, they probably would have called it the same thing. Now, did she deliberately do it? We'll never know what's in somebody's mind. But but she did go hard on her. She did go hard, and if that's what if that's what it was. I could see there's it being another controversial topic about people thinking about is Caitlin Clark being targeted? I think she's being targeted in a competitive sense. Defenders they want to beat her. They know the popularity that she's bringing to the league. They want to show the world, maybe she's not all that. And she's being defended deep into her backcourt all the way through, and that just comes with the territory when you bring in a lot of hype. And so I think she's probably I just think there's there's a sense of a lot of players wanting to show that, hey, I'm great too, and it's not just one player. And I think it's a perfectly normal feeling. I mean, I actually recall this happening to other phenoms that have come in the leagues. Sidney Crosby is the one I remember when he first got in the league. I still remember the one game against New Jersey. Ilya Kovalchuk, when he scored a goal, he pointed right at Crosby. So it's not the first time that this has happened, where a super hyped up prospect comes in the league, and you know that maybe, and this was at a time when Crosby was like thinking, hey, we need another face of the league to kind of carry the brand of the NHL. I get all that, and I think whatever discourse is around the Caitlin Clark issue is kind of, it's convoluted. It's a little weird. I think it's taken a turn that a lot of people didn't expect it to take.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And a lot of it, I think, is also manufactured by members of the media, especially from the United States, from all corners, to be honest with you. They're adding all these qualifiers to her that I think it's, and she hasn't really said anything. And to the credit, not too many other players have said anything, but I think the real issue was Christine Brennan's article in USA Today about her being left. I wouldn't say she got non-selected. I'm not going to call it a snub. I think it's a little too. That's a little too extreme. But I think there might be a level of veteran players that say, you know what, no, we don't. This is our team. And I don't think it's unusual. I mean, I've heard stories like this before, where somebody is like, it's kind of like that old boys mentality, where other veteran players who've been here for a long time, they're like, nope, this is our spot. Yeah, and this is how we want it.
Well, you got to earn respect, right? Yeah. We've heard that all the time. You could go to YouTube and look what the first 4 or 3 or maybe even as many as 5 years was like for Michael Jordan, and the physical abuse, because he was the kind of guy, all kinds of hype, came in there, clearly the best player of his draft class, even though he wasn't drafted number 1 like Clark was, and he just took beats, especially from the Detroit Pistons. Like it was just a real hard living, and Clark is going to have to earn her respect, I guess, by continuing to fighting through the screens. We had Tamika Hurton-Nurse here, an NCAA player in her own right, talking about, and an analyst as well too, that in the NCAA, the way to defend her was to check her, have her fight through screens. That there is a physical aspect of her, because she's even though she has incredible height, she is slight, right? And that's the way you get her off her game, because, and as Tamika would say, she's an incredible shooter. So how do you get any shooter off their game? That's being physical on them.
Yeah, and I've watched her play some, and I could tell that she's not really a polished player. Like I think she still has a ways to go.
She's played 14 games.
She's played 14 games, and however, though, she is improving. I mean, her numbers are still there. I just think the efficiency is not there. Now, again, did she deserve? I think, would I bring her on the national team? The U.S. national team? I think there's an argument for both sides. I do understand the competitive side, the rite of passage, but then I think there was also an opportunity where I think you have nothing to lose by bringing her, really, than not bringing her. And I don't know. I think there's the league is still trying to navigate the hype around it, because she really has she kind of has this Tim Tebow mania type hype.
Yes, and good comparison.
It's similar with Tiger Woods, the Tiger mania. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just something that she's such a unicorn in her league, in her sports, that people just gravitate towards it, right? Tebow, same thing. I mean, super Christian, unconventional way of playing quarterback, and he was winning all these magical games, and it caught fire, And Tiger Woods, again, same thing. He was different than everybody else, and he played at such a high level. He changed golf, how golfers approach the game. Like, these type of elements is what compels an audience to watch, whoever they watch, and that just seems how it's working out for her. But in terms of her game, I mean, she's playing pretty good. She's being productive, but I still think there's definitely some growth there though, as well.
In terms of compelling, and I know you are watching this, who will win? And that's tough.
God.
Maybe I'll give you a couple. You don't even have to say one team. I'll give you a couple. Maybe three.
Sure.
Who will win Euro 2024? It's a great tournament.
It's actually really good. It's been a really good tournament so far. I don't know. I've been going back and forth with this. I mean, you could make the argument, will Germany lift it at home? I still haven't gone quite there. Mm-hmm. I thought we could see a team that's not expected to win. I thought maybe the Netherlands. I thought maybe Croatia. And I know, after what I saw at Spain, I'm like, oh boy, I was dead wrong. And now it's gotten to my head where I'm like, I really don't know, because Spain's got a really young team, and I thought Croatia's gotten close many, many times. They could finally do it. The Euro kind of has a history of, there's been a few first-time winners, a few surprises, very pragmatic type of tournament compared to the World Cup. So I don't know. My mind, I've kind of changed my mind. I thought possibly maybe even the Netherlands might shock, because they're not bringing as much hype. They may lack a pure striker up there, but watch out for. I think the Dutch could possibly go all the way. Maybe, and that's just a gut feeling of mine. They're also close to home. You see all those fans coming in from to Hamburg. They just a sea. I'm probably going to go with the Netherlands. Probably maybe on some Cinderella matters.
Interesting. Wow.
But yeah, I think that's where I'm kind of at right now, because there's been some surprises so far that I was not expecting.
Okay, not expecting. I mean, I think the betting favorite, again, you would know more than I, was England.
Yeah.
And I will say this about England: they're not going to win. I mean, they're not going to win.
They always find a way. They always find a way not to win.
They always find a way to break English soccer fans' hearts. And because this team is so beautiful. Bellingham,
unbelievable.
They have this young crop of players mixed with a couple of guys in the back that I think are the basis of a splendid squad that will for sure get to the knockout. They'll win their group. They're going to get through. They might even be Final Four. But it has been England's history. And it's ridiculous that I'm saying this, because it's different players all the time. But the results speak for itself. And I don't like the manager.
England has suffered the issue with England, they've suffered an identity kind of crisis over the last maybe like 20 years. Like, they've had a lot of great players, but they never really had an identity. Now they're starting to build an identity. They look like, I was watching them play yesterday. I'm like, this doesn't look like a traditional English team. They're like playing ball possessive, holding the ball at the wings, moving it around, or the perimeter. And I'm like, I've never seen England play like this. But I think the difference is they kind of have to play that way, because that is the personnel that they have. But I really do believe Jude Bellingham he's going to be the rocket fuel to this team. And I mean, hell of a goal yesterday, just knowing where to be. To me, he might even be the best player in the world. So I think he could probably it's going to be around him. I think he's the guy you got to center around, and if England has any shot, they're going to make sure that the attack runs through him.
I mean, that goal talked about the way, Walker, Saka, and to hit like boom, 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 like that too. Foden floating around, like the name, the star power is exceptional.
Yeah.
Harry Kane up top, who this could be his last kick at the can, and he's still being so productive, in playing in the Bundesliga. Like I see good things happening for them, but I just know their history. If someone's going to play them hard, they're going to go to kicks and somehow lose in penalty kicks, and you're like, England.
Mental game.
You didn't say Italy either.
Yeah, I want to, but I don't know. They're going to be in there. I'm not going to quite go with Italy. I don't know. I'm probably not going to go with Italy. I think they'll be close. I mean, they're the defending champions. I think they might have something to prove after the World Cup debacle.
It was.
So, and this following their Euro win, I think Italy's going to be in the mix. I just don't know if they're going to have that. I don't know. Chiesa's pretty. He's a great player. I could see a semifinal appearance from Italy. Spain. I mean, I was really sleeping on Spain only because of the youth.
They're exciting.
They're exciting to watch.
Who's that 16-year-old guy?
Oh, Yamal.
Yeah, Yamal.
Yeah,
16.
Which is that's just super young. Usually, like back in the day, it was like when a 19-year-old sensation would come through. It's like even this is like. Even he might be a little too young for the big stage. He might show a flash here and there, but when it comes to like playing really top line defenders in the latter stages of a tournament, they could expose him a little bit. I don't know. I'm still going to go. My gut feeling is probably going to be Netherlands. I can see like Netherlands, France, the two teams in the same group meeting again in the final. That's just.
I'm surprised, and I'm going to throw this out. Is this Ronaldo's last dance?
No, he's going to keep playing until his legs fall off. Listen. I think when it comes to because the Portuguese national team is like my team, and I follow them. I think there's
you're just underplaying them, aren't you? You're just
no. Actually, I personally, I mean, if anyone's as critical as their own team, it's me. I think the Portuguese national team might have a little old boys club politics thing going on. Ronaldo kind of forces his hands. They got most of the starting players are all represented by one agent. It just doesn't. I think there's some agendas there, and they got too many. And my issue with Portugal is that I think they got too many guys who need the ball at their feet on the field. They need more off the ball, box to box ball winners out there to kind of, play with some of the bigger, stronger, faster teams, just to kind of open up some space and give their forwards some lanes to really go for the ball. But I mean, watch out for Rafael Leao. I think he's going to be. He's the next for Portugal.
I say, he's playing it really down, Let's
tamper him.
Let's stay with soccer here, and we'll end up on this one. And I again, this tournament to me is can't miss stuff. And unfortunately, here at CHCH, we can't show you visuals. There are rules to this. Better tournament, Euro or World Cup?
I've had this debate for years. I'm inclined to say the Euros. Even though the World Cup is the most prestigious event, I just think from a consistency point of view, the Euros just will always give you every game. There's just always going to be. There's always going to be a tough team to play. There's always going to be a not so guarantee game where you're going to win. However, though, I have seen World Cup because the World Cup's all predicated on how the rest of the world does in that tournament. And we have seen before, there has been some really great World Cup tournaments where, a team from Asia or Africa or even CONCACAF, I mean, USA's had some pretty good runs over the years. That's all predicated on how they do against the top dogs. Now, again, some of the Euro games could be a little too pragmatic, a little too defensive, and they could be a grinding 1-0 game. So in terms of an appeal, I don't know. It's kind of I think it's an even split in terms of appeal, because at least with the World Cup, there's so many different styles, lots of diversity of play, and it's a little, you can get something new every game. And obviously the tournament is much more prestigious. But I would say, I don't know, the Euros, I'm always a little more. There's a little more fire into the Euros because it's just because at some point a juggernaut's going to meet a juggernaut somewhere along the line where you may kind of avoid them a little bit throughout the World Cup. So I think from a fan perspective, I do tend to be, if there was just a slight edge, a little more invested into the Euros.
I have to go Euro, and I think it's based on quality of opponents, as I think you're kind of going to. I feel like even in this knockout stage, I feel like in the World Cup, there's always maybe one or two groups of death, as they call it.
Right.
In Euro, it's all a group of death. Like it really is. I mean, it's 24 teams. World Cup, the upcoming World Cup, help me out here, 48?
Yeah.
That's a lot of clubs, right?
That's a little excessive.
That's a lot of clubs, and I feel like in each grouping of 4, there's going to be one team that's happy to be there. That we're going to say they're going to score a goal, and that's what we will celebrate. And you know what? And that's great, because that's wonderful for development. But this is the premier tournament in the world for soccer, and I think you need to earn it to get there, and that's why I think Euro to me is just. I feel like in this round, in the early rounds right now, every game is can't miss stuff.
Yeah, and remember, it used to be 16 teams, and that was even more intense because one loss in your group and it's like, oh my God, you're already. And I know that with 24, you can be one of the best third place teams and still get through. I mean, we've seen many examples of that. World Cup used to be like that too.
Look at that. Croatia is down 0-1 right now with a goal differential of -3.
Right.
They're in trouble.
They are in trouble. And I think that's where it's one thing to lose 1-0. It's another thing to lose 3-0. And that's what's going to be the difference. If you finish third, man, your goal differential better be good, because right now Croatia's actually in trouble because you got spanked 3-0.
Hey, this is going to be a great tournament. We'll continue to follow it, and I know you and I will have plenty of conversations upcoming in the CHCH newsroom. Jason, always a pleasure to talk sports with you. You covered all kinds of topics, whether it be baseball. So, I mean, we didn't talk baseball because Blue Jays, pooey, right? There's so many other things going on right now, but I certainly appreciate your angle on sports and look forward to having you here again. I
appreciate it. Always glad to be here, Bubba. It's always fun. It's always great stuff. And we can even if it's something where it's like, this is a social topic, we get to a place where we get to the core of why we love sports, and that's why, regardless of what it is, it's always great being here.
Pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
That's your Sportsline podcast for the day. And as you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports, especially people that know what they're talking about and are passionate about it. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline podcast will want to hear from you. Please hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe button. And if you do have something to say, please comment. For the wonderful people that make the Sportsline podcast possible, thank you so very much. And yeah, we're going to see you tomorrow.